Yeah, and I think the next thing that we're kind of already talking about is I was really fascinated about your entire interview process. It was way more competitive than mine, to say the least. But that really showed like your professionalism and your dedication towards the company. So maybe if you wanted to talk about your entire interviewing process and how you prepared for it and the different strategies you used, maybe that would be very interesting, I think.
Well, first of all, this started like let's say 1 year before the getting the interview. I wasn't really good at English. I'm still working on it, but at that point I couldn't speak much about English. It was one of the hardest things for me to learn. When I realized I got the opportunity, probably the next year, if I got to have good qualifications uh, of getting this opportunity of getting on board a cruise ship, that's something I was really willing to get on board a cruise ship. So I started studying a lot of English every single day. I was just connecting to an application that which was called bosu.com. On that app, you got the opportunity to chat with others, people who wants to learn Spanish and they are native on English and the same on the other side around. So I was chatting every time with people. Every time I was getting back home after the school, after studying, I was tired, but I knew I had to learn English. So for the people who are from foreign countries, probably they don't have English as a native. I think that's a really another key point is to, if you don't know what to do in the meantime, you still didn't get in the nautical school, I think it's a good point to get started with the English because the best or the better you speak, the best chances you will have. And also for you, once you get on board the ship, if your English is bad, the main or the worst part will be to get to communicate with others. It will be a hard time for yourself, you know. So I started studying English a lot. I was even talking with myself in English because I will have an interview with one of the officers in the school, not the company. At the beginning, it will be I was interviewed by one officer from the school, and she interviewed me in English. So I prepared this whole year. I had the interview with this officer. We had the interview and she was not really happy with my English. She put like, okay, on English, I saw what she wrote and she put something like, um not really good, let's say. Something like she put not really good. And so I was a bit frustrated, but somehow she said, okay, let's give him the chance as well. But when I saw that, I tried to put even more effort than what I was doing into my English. And then when they told me, yes, you will be interviewed by this company, the fleet captain was coming from Miami to interview us, and they chose 10 of us to get into the interview. So I started to study a lot about the company, watching videos about their ships, trying to imagine how's the lifestyle and the officers they are looking for. So I realized also one of the search I was doing was how to present on an interview, how to do a good interview. Um, so I realized sometimes it's more important your attitude than your knowledge. Let's say they want to see attitude. They want to see that you want to become a leader. Those are some of the characteristics that some companies are looking for. So when I realized of it, I try to improve also that on me. Also, they some of the videos I was watching, they were saying like, for example, I don't know, put your hands on the table, try not to move a lot, try not to look up or down. So I did all my research. I tried to get prepared because I knew I didn't have another I will not have another opportunity probably in several years with this company. So at the end, when the interview came, I was like the seventh into getting the office with this fleet captain. So I had the chance to ask the other guys how was it, and well, it was really hard. I was so nervous. The guy told me this captain told me that I was nervous because I was, I don't know, putting my hand here or here, whatever. So I was like taking notes. Okay, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. Then when it came to my turn, I really understood these guys why they were getting so nervous. And we were in a short table. It was like this wide, and the guy was putting his elbows on the table and putting his face really close to yours. And all the interview was like that. The whole interview was very uncomfortable situation. Eye contact all the time, and just at, I don't know, 20 centimeters between each other. It was so hard to. So well, what he was trying to do was a kind of a stress test. That's the way he was trying to put some kind of pressure and see how we react to the situation. That was the easiest way he had at that time, probably, and it really worked. So, but thanks to the experience of my other friends who got the interview before, I think I managed to do it a bit better. And nowadays, just to let the audience know, they are still doing this kind of a stress test, but they do it in another way, like with these games that you can find online, that they put a 60 seconds clock there, and you have to click on the red color, but the word is written in red, but it's saying blue or things like that, and you have like just a limited amount of seconds for each answer. So that kind of stress tests are still doing it. This company at least is doing it a lot because they consider that handling or yeah, handling pressure or being in situations under pressure to see how you react. That's the way they find out, or yeah, they can realize if you are good or no for the position or not good for that position. I don't know how good or how accurate those tests are, but just to keep in mind that sometimes they do it before the interview even.
So you spent the night before every interview, if I understand it correctly, kind of going through what they could ask about, watching some different videos or reading stuff on how to prepare for interviews. So kind of doing common sense stuff, but actually doing it and actually like being prepared for it instead of just
Yes,
hoping
I was
for God to do it for you, basically. Yeah.
exactly like I was trying to do different scenarios that I could have and kind of studying them. Then the interview probably was not exactly the same, but at least I had some kind of answer prepared for each kind of question that they could ask me. And it helped me to go because sometimes the fear is because of the lack of knowledge, you know. So you are thinking or overthinking about the question they could ask you or something. So the best way to reduce the fear or to be a bit more confident is to get knowledge. So in this case was knowledge about the company, or at least whatever I could do, I did it. So I got to the interview a little bit more relaxed than that I would go if I wouldn't do that research before.
Yeah, definitely. I think that all the time, just preparing for even 15, 20 minutes before an interview or any conversation, so to speak, but now we're speaking about interviews, it just makes you seem so much more intelligent and so much more in control because you actually know what we're talking about. You actually know where to begin. And often in an interview, especially where you're nervous, as soon as they ask you something where where you know you should know the answer. For example, if I ask about some ship they have or something like a test to see if you made some research, and you know like this is to test my research abilities, but I didn't do it. Then you start becoming self-conscious. Then you start to stutter like I did just
Yeah,
now. You start to become very self-aware, and that's kind of when everything goes down the drain for many people. And that's where the stress test I think really gets to people is when they get called out, when they get caught in their not being prepared. So yeah, I think preparation and like we talked about before, but being professional is like the two most important things you can do for the interview.
yeah, correct, for sure. Also, if you do the research, it's not that they will test you or actually see if you know everything about the company. But if you did some research before, probably if they ask about the ships or something, you will not remember every single ship name or whatever. but you will remember the kind of operations they do or something, so you can try to figure out how to answer those questions, and they will realize you've been researching and you want the job.
Yeah, that also reminds me about the part in your book where you talk about the question you have to ask the person,
Mm-hmm.
and that just also comes back to how good. It's not about just asking a question; it's about asking an informed question, really, about the company, something that you can't just Google maybe, and that's really
Mm-hmm.
where the research comes in, where you genuinely sit down, look at the company, and then see, there's this information is lacking. I would really like to know this, and then you can actually ask that question to the interview, so that you actually look like someone who has some smart questions to ask instead of asking things that can be Googled easily or things that just aren't relevant. It's just like another thing for the interview process, like the question that often comes up.
True, yeah. To have some question prepared, yeah. I think that that also shows that you're not just there waiting for them to do everything for you. You are somehow curious about what kind of job you will do or whatever. So I think it's good to have prepared the question. And yeah, I remember on my case there on the interview, I also asked about how it's to have a family working on a cruise ship. Because I was trying to give him the idea because I knew that sometimes they were really picky on the cadets because they knew that some of the guys were just for the experience. So I was trying to give this guy the idea that I was planning to have even a family while working on their company. Like I was not planning just to have an experience, a short experience. So I think he liked it a lot. Actually, when he just say goodbye to me, he said, "I'll see you soon." He told me like confirming that I got the job. So it was really really good feeling.